Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sam's Financial Corner. And today we're going to look at how to read your credit card statement. I had a friend of mine, let me fix my tie, it's nice for you all. I had a friend of mine who's like, Sam, you need to do like videos about looking at statements. And I'm thinking to myself, what? And yeah, I realized I need to. I think a lot of times we assume that everyone knows everything, and we shouldn't make those assumptions. We should never make those assumptions. So I just want to take a moment and go through my credit card statement just so you can look at yours and know how to read it, know what's important, know what to look for, and make sure you read the fine print. Because a lot of times we don't read the fine print. We just sign something, we go, oh, okay, whatever else. And we really need to make sure. So I encourage you at the end of this video, because I still want you to watch I want you to watch my video all the way to the end. And then after you're done watching and you've liked, you comment and subscribe, wink, wink. I'm supposed to say wink, and then I should have winked, but I look kind of weird when I wink. But anyway. So after that, I invite you to pull out your phone if you don't already have it, or however you pull up your credit card statements, even if you still get them mailed, and just take a moment to really take a look at your credit card statement and look at what it says and what it details. Knowledge is power. And the more knowledge that we have, we can utilize and do things effectively. And so this is just one of those things. So let's get into it. At the top of my statement, and I'm sorry if I'm looking away, but I'm looking at the actual statement, on my laptop. And so it gives you the statement date. Then to the right, it gives me the payment information, when the payment is due. It tells you the time that an online payment has to be received or processed in order for it to meet the deadline. It gives me the new balance and the minimum payment due. It tells me that if we do not receive your minimum payment by the due date, you may incur a late fee, and it tells you the amount. And it gives you a minimum payment warning. And the reason that this is I don't know if many of you remember, but credit card companies didn't do this before. And there was such a huge backlash because people were making their minimum payments, and people felt it was kind of, in a way, kind of fraud or deceitful. If you're telling me all I need to do is make the minimum payment, and I do, but what people didn't realize is that by making just the minimum payment, even if you didn't charge anything else, it may take you maybe in some cases 20 years to pay off a balance. And so people thought that was fraud, that was deceitful. Why would you tell me to just make the minimum payment and then not let me know that if I make no new charges and I make just the minimum payment, it can take me 10, 15, 20 years to pay this balance off. So now you'll notice in recent years that they tell you, if you just make the minimum payment only, this is how long it's going to take you to pay it off. So that also shows the power of the consumer. We forget our power oftentimes. We forget our voice because sometimes things happen. We've been told we don't matter, situations, circumstances, but our voices matter. And we have the right to say, yes, you're the organization that's providing a service to me, and I appreciate that. But I also have the right to know certain things, and I have the right to have information presented to me in such a manner that I can make an informed decision. That's very, very important. So it gives me that information, and then on the right hand side it tells me what my previous balance was, any payments, any other credits, like let's say maybe I returned items, or maybe there were incorrect charges and they removed them. Tells me the transactions, if I have any cash advances, finance charges or fees charged, interest charged, and it gives me the total calculation for the new balance. What you have to remember is that if you take cash off of your credit card, there's a separate interest rate or fee for that. Sometimes it can be the same for charges, but sometimes it can be different and it can be significantly higher. Sometimes credit card companies do charge you international fees when you travel. And I want to do a video in the future talking about when you travel, how to travel, what you should use and don't. And the credit card that I have charges zero finance charges for foreign transactions. Not all do. Some do now. I see that kind of becoming more of a trend. But again, those are the things you want to know. And that's why I'm always saying and taking the time now to go through my statement with you, because I want you to begin to take the process of educating yourself. And I love the fact that there are professionals out there. But when it comes to your financial household, your financial picture, you're responsible. And so you want to arm yourself and know as much as you can. I know it may not be something you want to do, and I know you have a lot of things going on in your life. But sometimes just taking a moment, once you read your statement, you don't have to sit and read every single statement. But once you read at least that one statement and get a feel for it and understand it, you'll be more knowledgeable about the terms and the financial relationship that you've created with the institution that has given you this short-term loan. Because remember, these are short-term loans. That's why the interest rates are higher. And it's funny that they're short-term loans, but they give you the minimum payment. And when you look at the minimum payment, and if you just make that, this short-term interest rate that you're being charged is like that for a long-term loan. Okay, sorry, I needed a little water. So it gives me my credit limit, the available credit I have of the date of the statement, if there's a cash advance credit limit, and how much that is. The next part, going to the second page, is 4 parts. Don't worry, we're not going to go through line by line by line. We're going to go through this. Then it gives you like the payment remittance, if you were going to mail your payment in, and the payment address and those things. Now, so this is something that I don't know if I can read, because I'm always concerned about legal stuff, and you never know with certain companies if you can read certain things. But this statement, I believe I can, and I'll just give a quick summation. Now, there's the part of this statement that talks about these things that are very important. How do I avoid paying interest charges? Now, mine says if you pay your new balance in full by the due date each month, we won't charge you interest on new transactions. That is very, very important to know, because you always want to know with your credit card, how are interest charges calculated, and they can differ from different credit card companies. Some can be standard, but again, you always want to look and read the fine print, because you may have certain assumptions, but you want to know exactly what it is. They give you instructions, or how is the interest rate determined? Is it determined by the date that the transaction took place? Is it determined by all the certain transactions by a certain date, like the date of the statement? Like, that's very important to know. You know, it's good to know, do you assess a minimum interest charge? Those are things. And how do you calculate the interest charge? Like I said, that is very, very important. You know, you want to know, how can you close your account? How do you process payments? How are my payments applied? That is a very, very, very good question, because sometimes your payment may be applied interest, then principal, or a portion or maybe split. There are different things that could be done. So you want to always know how your payment is applied. And then also what I'm looking at, which I totally forgot about, but I mentioned just a few moments ago, is that you can have different interest rates. So let's say I have charges and then I have cash advance. And let's say my cash advance is higher, the interest rate is higher. So based off of my statement, they're going to apply my payment to the amount with the lower interest first, which is again another way for them to ensure that they're getting more money, because if you apply it to the highest, you'll get less, and they're not going to want to do that. You have to remember, they're a business and they want to stay in business, so they're going to do whatever they can to keep for themselves. And then there's also a section of what do I do if I think there's a mistake on my statement. They also say, about the annual percentage rate. Will it change? How do you calculate it? So there's all of these things. How do I make payments? When will you credit my payment? So all of that information is good to know. It shows up on every statement, so you don't have to read it over and over and over again. But all of those things that I mentioned are very, very important, and they're on your credit card statement. So I encourage you to take a moment after this video, because I want you to watch it, I want you to like, I want you to comment, and of course I want you to subscribe, because this is an endeavor of mine and I really love it. I gotta take a moment and say, I know I'm breaking, I know I'm deviating, forgive me, but I gotta be honest. I really, really, really enjoy this. This gives me such joy to do. And I just want to encourage you briefly, find whatever it is that you enjoy doing and do it. It's going to make life so much happier and you're just going to feel so much better. Okay, sorry, let me get back to this. Okay, so in the next part of this statement, it shows me all of my payments. And what I try to do is I try to always make sure that I am making always more than the minimum payment. I think I talked in a previous video about the credit card strategies, and I think I may come back to that again and revisit it, because I have specific strategies on how I utilize credit card debt and how others utilize credit cards. And I think I've done that, but it's always good to go back and revisit and talk more. So it gives me all the charges for this period, the interest charges on purchases, and then it gives me the year-to-date total interest charge. That's very important, because a lot of times we look at our statements, we look at how much, but sometimes we'll be amazed at how much interest we've paid on these short-term loans for a year. Because I know we say, this is my credit card, this is my credit card, it's my credit card. But I need you to kind of change the mentality, because it is a credit card, but it's a short-term loan. Always look at it as just a credit card. Yeah, it lets me do stuff, but it's a loan. Always, always, always have that in the forefront of your mind, that it's a loan. Okay? Also some of them talk about and give more about how, in this day with, people, identity theft. And so they tell you how they utilize your personal information. And this is good. And ask you, do they share it? Who do they share it with? Do they share it with affiliates? Do they share it with non-affiliates? If you have issues with them sharing your information, you have the right to tell them, I don't want this information shared. And that's very important. And then it gives you more about how they protect your financial information. Sometimes people say they want to limit it all, and you can't. because of there's certain laws as to why you can't limit certain things. Because examples, when you're applying for loan and they're looking at your credit worthiness, the person who is providing you this potential loan has the right to know your financial history and to be able to assess whether you're an acceptable credit risk or not. Okay? And they also tell you about, because sometimes there's state laws that protect you, or state laws about that what they can and cannot do. So all of those things are important. So we've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and take some time this week to really, or as soon after, I'd rather you do it right after this, to just download your statement, take some time and just read through all of the information. Your statement, the information may be allocated differently, and remember, each provider has different ways of how they do things, from calculating your APR, which is your annual percentage rate, with how they apply your payments, deadlines, all of those things. And you want to make sure for all of your cards that you're aware of that. And that's why I kind of said a week too, because some of you all have a lot of cards with different companies, and you want to know all of those things. It's very, very important, especially because you have a financial relationship with these organizations. So, you know, you're kind of married to them until you divorce them. So if you're going to keep them, you might as well know what they say. You need to. It's very important. Okay, thank you for watching. Take care, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.